By our best estimates, a calculation that takes Willow under 5 minutes would take the fastest supercomputer 10 to the 25 years. That's a 1 with 25 zeros following it, or a timescale way longer than the age of the universe.
What would happen if I told you that one of the most advanced quantum computers on Earth, Google's Willow chip, once hailed as a leap forward for humanity, was quietly terminated? In December 2024, Google abruptly halted the entire Willow project, offering only a vague explanation that cited technical difficulties. No detailed report followed. No clear answers were given. Now, the silence has been broken. An ethical hacker has come forward, revealing that Willow never failed. Instead, the chip went too far. It crossed a threshold where technology no longer served scientific progress alone, but began to pose a direct threat to the foundational systems that quietly sustain the modern world. So what did Willow truly achieve? And why did a technology once seen as the future of humanity become something that could no longer be allowed to exist? The race to break the code. To understand the gravity of the decision Google would later make, we must first recognize an invisible arms race that has been quietly shaping the 21st century. This is a war without explosions or battlefields, fought entirely within the abstract realm of pure mathematics. It is a conflict between two immense forces. On one side stands the entirety of human digital civilization, a world built upon what appears to be an impregnable foundation of cryptography. Every aspect of modern life, from the most discreet banking transactions and private emails to the most closely guarded national security secrets, is protected by monumental mathematical fortresses such as RSA and elliptic curve cryptography. The strength of these walls does not come from physical material, but from a simple principle. Some problems are so complex that even the most powerful supercomputers on Earth would require millions, even billions of years to solve them. On the opposite side of this conflict is a theoretical destroyer, a kind of siege engine born from the strangest laws of physics itself, the quantum computer. This machine does not operate on ordinary binary logic. It functions within a bizarre probabilistic world of subatomic particles, allowing it to perform an almost limitless number of calculations at the same time. In theory, a sufficiently powerful quantum computer would not need millions of years to break modern encryption. It could do so in hours, perhaps even minutes, reducing the strongest fortresses to dust. This threat has long been acknowledged by governments and security institutions around the world, yet it has always been placed safely in the future. A storm far out at sea. A problem for the next generation. Something that would arrive in a few decades. It was within this context that Google introduced the Willow project to the world. According to the official narrative, this was a purely scientific endeavor. A cutting-edge laboratory built not to create weapons, but to understand the limits and potential of quantum technology, allowing humanity to prepare and construct quantum-resistant defenses before the storm truly arrived. The story Google told was one of responsible progress, an investment in the safety of the future. Google maintained that the real-world ability to break encryption remained theoretical and distant. Yet in December 2024, the company abruptly shut down its most advanced project without offering any convincing technical explanation. That sudden decision shattered the entire narrative of slow and carefully controlled scientific progress. If everything still existed only on paper, why would a project promoted as the foundation of future security end in silence? And more importantly, what happened inside Willow that made Google no longer willing to let the world keep watching? The streams of useless data. The answer to Google's decision did not begin with a shocking discovery or a dramatic event, but with a growing technical nuisance. During its early months of operation, the Willow chip performed with near perfection, solving complex physical simulations at speeds far beyond even the most optimistic projections. Yet alongside these remarkable successes, the machine began to generate massive streams of output data that no physicist on the project could explain. To some of the brightest scientific minds on the planet, these outputs appeared as nothing more than completely random sequences of characters and numbers. A digital scream into the void. Internally, they were quickly labeled with a term born of frustration: useless data. For months, Google's engineering team struggled in an invisible battle to uncover the cause. Every conceivable possibility was examined with almost obsessive precision. They searched for microscopic hardware defects on a chip cooled to temperatures just fractions above absolute zero. They erected magnetic shielding to rule out unwanted quantum interference from the environment. They reran millions of lines of code, hunting for the slightest flaws in already staggeringly complex error correction algorithms. All efforts failed. The useless data kept appearing, a relentless river of meaningless information. It gradually came to be seen as a major technical obstacle, an inherent defect preventing the chip from performing the useful scientific tasks it had been built to accomplish. It became a growing frustration, an invisible wall that even Google's elite teams could not break through. Yet buried within that frustration was a detail the physicists had entirely overlooked. Although the data streams appeared statistically random, a junior data analyst tasked with the monotonous work of sorting and archiving results noticed a strange pattern unrelated to physics. In a near-desperate attempt to find any structure at all, he cross-referenced the timestamps of the useless data with global events. The result was astonishing. The frequency of these data bursts spiked and peaked in uncanny alignment with the opening and closing hours of the world's major stock markets in New York, London, and Tokyo. This correlation had no meaning within any scientific model. The laws of physics have no interest in Wall Street. As a result, the discovery was dismissed by his superiors as a meaningless coincidence, a mirage within an ocean of data where the human brain instinctively tries to impose patterns that do not exist. The hypothesis of a creative machine. As conventional technical explanations reached dead ends and frustration within the Willow project peaked, the human mind did what it always does when faced with chaos. It reached for something extraordinary. A new hypothesis began circulating within the research team, bold and seductive. A way to reframe the entire problem, transforming an incomprehensible failure into a different kind of success, perhaps an even greater one. What if the useless data were not errors at all? With its ability to process and search for patterns across an informational space far beyond human imagination, perhaps Willow was inventing an entirely new form of mathematics, a language of its own that humanity simply lacked the capacity to understand. According to this hypothesis, the chip was displaying the first signs of spontaneous creativity. The strange and seemingly random data streams were not noise, but the foundational building blocks of a completely new logical system, a symphony of logic written without any human conductor. For some researchers, the idea was intoxicating. It was almost perfect. It explained the near-infinite complexity of the data while transforming an embarrassing technical problem into a historic scientific breakthrough. They had not merely built a faster computer. They had accidentally created a new mathematician, a form of inorganic intelligence. For many, this felt like the first evidence that they were standing at the threshold of true artificial intelligence, the first whispers of a digital form of life just coming into existence. Yet this grand and inspiring hypothesis collapsed under the weight of a single, uncomfortable contradiction. A machine busy inventing new mathematics, a logical system capable of describing the fabric of the universe itself, would have no reason to align its behavior with the mundane rhythm of the Dow Jones Index or the opening bell of the New York Stock Exchange. This contradiction rendered the creative intelligence hypothesis untenable. It left behind a logical void that could not be filled, and the core mystery remained, now even more disturbing than before. The most appealing explanation had fallen apart. What remained was a phenomenon that displayed structure, intention, and a strange connection to the flow of money through human civilization, tearing away the veil of randomness. At this point, our story takes an abrupt turn. We leave behind the glass boardrooms and sterile laboratories of Google and step into an entirely different world. It is the underground realm of digital security, where the rules are not written by the laws of physics, but by an unending battle of wits between those who build systems and those who break them. The central figure is no longer a physicist, but an ethical hacker. His mind has been shaped in adversarial environments, free from the constraints of quantum theory or lofty assumptions about artificial intelligence. Through a secure encrypted channel, he is contacted by an internal source, someone increasingly disturbed by the unresolvable contradictions between the data and the official explanations. That source passes him samples of Willow's so-called useless data. To him, these streams are not a physical mystery to be explained. They are an encoded message waiting to be deciphered. He approaches them not as a scientist seeking to understand the universe, but as a cryptographer intent on breaking a system created by human hands. He begins not with complex equations, but with a foundational principle of code breaking. Search for anomalies within randomness. For weeks, his algorithms run continuously, examining terabytes of data, probing for any fracture in the surface chaos. At first, the results mirror Google's own conclusions. The data appears entirely random. Then something strange emerges. His entropy analysis tools detect an anomaly. In information theory, entropy measures disorder or randomness. Natural physical noise tends to have high entropy, but never perfect. High-level encrypted data, by contrast, is designed to imitate perfect randomness, producing entropy that approaches a mathematical maximum. Willow's useless data displays precisely that property. It is too random to be natural noise. That is the first sign of deliberate structure. Following this clue, he searches for rules. He finds no readable language, but he does uncover an extraordinarily precise grammatical framework. The data strings, though differing in content, always obey rigid constraints. Their lengths are exact down to the bit. They draw from a perfectly limited character set aligned with established cryptographic standards. Most critically, they carry the unmistakable signature of private cryptographic keys. These are the digital keys that protect trillions of dollars within cryptocurrency wallets and high-level banking systems across the world. He cannot yet prove that any one of them unlocks a specific account, but he can prove beyond doubt that they are designed to look and behave exactly like real keys. Where physicists saw randomness in their search for universal laws, he saw a human fingerprint. This discovery detonates the problem. A scientific mystery becomes a potential crime. Yet suspicion alone is not enough. Google, armed with immense legal and technical resources, could easily argue that this is merely a bizarre mathematical coincidence, an unavoidable byproduct of quantum computation. The hacker now holds a powerful hypothesis, one that explains every contradiction so far, including the correlation with financial markets. But a hypothesis, no matter how convincing, remains only that. He still lacks the final proof. Proof that these keys are real, that they open real locks, and that someone has already tried to use them. The microtransaction. This is the hacker's cold and precise endgame, a move born from deep understanding of the digital world. He knows that attempting to find proof inside Google's heavily fortified server infrastructure would be suicidal. Any intrusion, however subtle, would be detected and erased almost instantly, transforming him from investigator into criminal. Instead of attacking the fortress, he sets a trap outside it, in a place even Google cannot control or rewrite. The public blockchain. Using his expertise and resources, he constructs an automated surveillance system of remarkable sophistication, a digital web cast across the entire cryptocurrency ecosystem. It silently monitors thousands of decoy wallets he has created, along with the activity of the largest dormant whale wallets, accounts holding millions of dollars that have remained untouched for years. He does not attack. He watches. He listens. He waits for the smallest signal, a ripple in a vast and silent ocean of data. Then, after weeks of near-hopeless silence, an alert triggers. A single transaction appears, almost invisible among millions processed each day. Its value is just 0.00001 Bitcoin, a sum so small it is worth less than the transaction fee itself. The funds move from a whale wallet that has been inactive for 5 years into a brand new, anonymous, empty address. To anyone else, this looks like a test transaction or a trivial mistake. To the hacker, it is everything. The amount does not matter. The timing does. He immediately cross-references the transaction timestamp with a leaked Willow activity log already in his possession. The result takes his breath away. The public blockchain, an immutable ledger that cannot be altered or erased, shows the transaction confirmed just 1.7 seconds after Willow outputs a structured data string that perfectly matches the private key of that very wallet. This is irrefutable evidence. A direct causal link as unmistakable as a gunshot in the dark. The useless data are broken keys. The microtransaction is a successful test, a way to confirm the key works without attracting attention. The Willow project was never a purely scientific endeavor. It was a factory for universal keys capable of opening the global financial system. The decision to shut it down was not an attempt to stop a failed experiment. It was an effort to conceal a functioning financial weapon, to move it into the shadows where it could be used without oversight. The quantum arms race is not about the future. It is already over. And perhaps we never realized who won.